Now we're going to actually transition into a different type of a movie. This was a very big movie that just came out recently. In fact, I saw it opening day. I was a part of the $134 million it brought to the box office. We're going to be talking about the long-awaited Avatar: Way of Water. Now, this film, for those of you that don't know, the original Avatar was created in 2009. And for those that have not seen it, the story goes like this. We have a character named Jake Sully who works for the human race, or as they call on the planet, Pandora, the Sky People. This takes place in the year 2154, I believe, where essentially humans are, harvesting different resources on different planets, specifically this one resource on Pandora that would be very, very valuable and could sell for a lot of money. So Jake Sully is tasked with, essentially extracting those resources from this planet, but he gets lost on the planet Pandora, stranded, and he is surrounded by the Na'vi people. Now in Avatar, they create these avatars, like these copies of humans, for the humans, for the Sky People. So if there were any scenario in which they died, they could be rebirthed as a Na'vi person. So Jake Sully is stranded on this island as a Na'vi, and he actually falls in love and meets his soon-to-be wife in that movie, named Neytiri. I have a hard time pronouncing her name. And in Avatar 1, he sides with the Na'vi people. They fight against the Sky People, and he ultimately takes down the humans, and in particular, the colonel that is serving for the air people. So fast forward, Avatar 2 takes place about 13 years or 10 years after the fact, and Jake Sully and his wife have a family now. They have 4 kids, and in Avatar 2, a lot of the humans, the Sky People, are rebirthed as avatars. So there's about a crew of 20 of them, including Colonel Qualtrics, who is the main antagonist of this film. So Colonel Qualtrics, and mind you, the humans are very, very advanced. Their technology will destroy the entire planet of Pandora if they so wanted to. But the planet's so valuable that they wouldn't dare think to. They just want to kill Jake Sully for betraying the humans and joining the planet of Pandora and the Na'vi people. So Colonel Qualtrics infiltrates the area in which Jake Sully lives in. Him and his crew kind of come in, and they actually take a few prisoners, one of which is a human half-breed of a soldier that Qualtrics was real good friends with, and Jake Sully and his family flee. So this is the big context that you need. His family flees, and they arrive to a village that is more along the ocean. They are called the Mekiana clan, and they are these Na'vi people, but they live in the water, and their traits are very different. So for example, the Mekiana people have these long, oar-like arms. Their tails are really long. They can hold their breath for a really long time. They're meant for the water, whereas the Na'vi are more meant for the forest. They're a lot more agile. They can run through the trees. They're, everything like that. His wife, for example, is real good with a bow and arrow. So they're meant for the forest. And when they come to the Mekiana clan, they're met with a lot of hostility because, one, the Mekianas are at peace. They're not at war. And they know that Jake Sully is fleeing, hiding from someone, and they don't want to bring war upon their clan. However, the leader, who I believe was played by Vin Diesel, I believe that was the CGI I believe that was the person they used for the CGI to create this character, has a lot of respect for Jake Sully, knows his story, and actually brings them in and tells the village that Jake Sully and his family are going to learn the way of the water, right? Thus the title. So the entire movie is pretty much one big cinematographic shot. Every little thing about this world, whenever they're learning something new or they're exploring a new part of the world, it's a cinematic shot that takes 10 minutes to complete, right? So here are my pros and cons. I'm not going to get into the ending because they actually do plan to have a few movies after this. I'll get into that later. This movie was fantastic in terms of the CGI, the cinematography, and just the shots they were able to get. It took James Cameron about 13 years for this technology to develop in a way where he could get these water shots, combine them with CGI and live action, and get just beautiful, beautiful shots. There were many times that I forgot I was looking at CGI created graphics. at the same time, like the lighting, everything was just like really beautiful in this movie. And if you want to see like a great cinematic experience, I highly suggest going to watch this movie. However, this movie did come with some cons, and I'll get into those right now. So one thing is like the dialogue in this movie. I went to go watch this with a couple of friends, and about an hour and a half in, we all started to realize that the dialogue just really fell off. That there were a lot of shots, there were a lot of lines, there was a lot of dialogue lines between characters that just didn't really fit in. Like it didn't make sense. It didn't we didn't really realize or know why these lines were in there. At the same time too, their delivery was really cheesy, and I think this is also a
knowing
criticism.
James Cameron, probably you'll understand why those dialogue make sense in two more movies from now.
Sure,
Two more
and that could
avatars
be
from now.
that could be very true. I know James Cameron is a great director, but I will say, given that this was a 3 hour and 15-minute movie, I genuinely think that there were some dialogue moments that could have been taken out, and you would have been able to continue the series. There were just some ones that didn't really seem that they belonged. Maybe it was just for a little bit of cushioning. That was just at least what I saw upon first glance. The movie's very long too, and a lot of times, whenever they're doing a nice little montage of like the world around them, sometimes that takes on a little too long and you forget kind of what the entire plot is about. However, I don't think those cons were big enough for me to say, don't watch this movie. This movie was fantastic to watch. And whenever there were parts where it got a little dry, a little boring, they did make up for it with interesting plot points. The fight scenes were very well put together, even though, they're slightly unrealistic. This takes place in a fictional world way in the future. So I think the fight scenes were very, very good. I thought the plot developed in a very good way. And they left room for a third and even a fourth movie that they plan to release here soon. So I highly recommend you go and watch this. That was my honest take about this movie. It was great. And I would go watch the third and the fourth one just because James Cameron is really good at building a world, building a universe to immerse you in. And that's exactly what I felt. I'm like every little detail about what might happen on this planet is elaborated on. And I think that's something that's really cool to note. And with that,
Brilliant.
and we just got done reviewing Avatar 2, The Way of the Water.